I never thought I would have to be supporting washers and dryers in my in my role, or that it would take so much of my time.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here, we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I'm Deanna, IT support technician with the service desk.
And I'm Scooter, Director of Information Technology for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Our guests today are Beth Padgett, IT Solutions Specialist, and Neil Kovatch, IT Solutions Consultant, supporting the Division of Student Affairs. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, before we start, could you tell us a little bit about your current role and the journey that brought you here? How long have you been with the university? How and when did you move into your current role? Beth, why don't you start for us?
Yeah, I've been with the university 20-some years now, since 2000. I graduated in 2002. I've had multiple different roles within OIT, starting at the help desk and then moving on to a distributed support consultant for the Center for Social Concerns, the main building, Marcom, Office of Research, ACII over the years. But then probably for the last, 6 or 7 years, I've been with Student Affairs. Yeah. And
You've been taking the grand tour.
I have, yeah.
Excellent. Neil, how about you?
I've been in my role here for about little over 2 years now. Prior to that, I worked for a company called the Northern Indiana Workforce Board. I was a sysadmin for them for about 9 years. And prior to that, I worked for campus ministry for about 6 years. So.
Wonderful. So not your first time at Notre Dame, just your first time in our technical role.
Yep, that is true.
Excellent. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Can you guys tell us a little bit more about, or just explain what Student Affairs is? To me, I feel like I kind of had a misunderstanding of it. I thought like, oh, Student Affairs, well, they do stuff for the students. But from what we've talked about, it sounds like it's just primarily staff, and you guys support a lot of groups. Can you tell us a little more about that? Maybe go ahead, Beth.
Yeah. So our roles support the staff of Student Affairs, so which is pretty big. When I've kind of tried to do the count, we're in about 40 different buildings on campus, and it's around 200 staff members. And so Student Affairs itself supports kind of the student life on campus, everything from there are residence halls to campus ministry, career development, rec sports, health and wellness. So both over in St. Liam, but also the student support and care in Coleman Morris. Student activities over in La Fortune, and then I think it's student engagement and belonging, which is now on the second floor of La Fortune. So we're kind of all over the place, but we primarily support the staff of Student Affairs. So we don't do a lot of direct student support beyond if they're having a problem with one of our systems. Mostly our support is really for the staff of Student Affairs.
Excellent. So Neil, can you describe for us what the IT team in Student Affairs looks like? Are the two of you the entire team, or who else is involved? What are the different roles that we have?
Yeah, so it's just Beth and I on the Student Affairs Tech team. I handle a lot of the break fix stuff, and Beth handles a lot of the big picture stuff.
My understanding is that Student Affairs is part of the entire Student Solutions team, that there's a development team that you work with, there's some advising, social concerns. How do you relate to those other organizations?
Yeah, so we're Neil and I report to Jason in the Student Solutions and under Chris's team in enterprise applications. And so we're part of a team also with Stephanie Helm, who does support as well, for first year advising and a couple other groups. And then the other half of the team is the student developers. So they do a lot of the development work for all of the student integrations, and a lot of the supporting the student side of Banner, and all of the kind of goes into student data in OIT. Quite a few years ago, we kind of joined that side of it because we have quite a few student apps that relied heavily on that student data and a lot of those integrations. And so it's always kind of made sense to be part of that team because we have a lot of pieces that kind of fall into that. And so when we have questions and stuff, it's pretty nice to go, basically in a team meeting and saying, hey, I have a problem with this, and have the developers there to help it. And then when we have projects, we tend to act as the project managers and then have one of the developers kind of work with us on and be the kind of liaison between student affairs and the need of student data, and then the developers who are actually helping us get the data.
So you guys mentioned that it's primarily you and Neil, or Beth and Neil, in your team, with some other folks kind of sprinkled in. How do you guys divide that responsibility and just the workload overall? Like, what do you do if one of you is out? Can you talk a little more about that?
Sure. Like I said, I deal with a lot of the break fix stuff, dealing with endpoints. If one of us is out, the other can generally jump in and take over. However, we do have some help. Say if both of us are out, Stephanie Helm can come along and help us out a little bit as well.
And Neil, can you specifically talk about your CWP installs, like what this summer looked like, what the rest of this year looks like, and how that goes?
Sure. So we had a pretty big round of CWPs this summer. I think we had 112, which is about half of our fleet in student affairs. So it was a big undertaking. We're just about done with it right now. Actually, I just did a count, and we have 12 more to go. So looks like we went through about 100 so far.
Well, congratulations. That's a huge number for just a single summer.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it started back in March, I think, is planning for it and stuff like that. So like it was, 6 months of work, and certainly 3 months of Neil having to do install after install. So
Sure.
we'll be happy to wrap it up.
I'd still call that summer.
Yeah. It feels like it.
So Beth, you mentioned that you support staff directly. Are there ever any times when you're supporting students directly?
Yeah, typically it's only if it would be a student worker in one of the departments and they're having problems with like a shared computer, or a student is having a direct problem like logging into one of our systems or using one of the systems on campus. Obviously because it's student affairs, a lot of our systems have student front ends to them, whether that's, we kind of see it on some of the stuff like UHS signing in to do vaccines, housing signing up to do their housing application, career development has Handshake and logging in to see what career opportunities. So it's usually the kind of login piece is where they'll get tripped up, and we can kind of step in and help with that. Or for some reason, like the data isn't correct in the system, and kind of helping with that. And it's, like I said, it's kind of direct, but it's usually directed through the department to us saying, hey, the student is reaching out and they're having problems. It's, every once in a while we'll get a case directly from the help desk saying that the student's having problems, but it's usually that versus like direct student support of like, hey, my computer's not working.
You don't have students knocking on your door.
Yeah, there is a lot of try a different browser.
I'll bet.
So what does IT consultancy look like in your area?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting mix, right? So we have the very day-to-day making sure that the staff computers work, and printing and all of the day, like just the basis of my technology needs to work to do my job. And then it kind of broadens into like more of a consultancy. So like, when we meet with, new departments or new staff, my tagline for a long time has been like, it's our job to make technology work for you. And the best way that we can make that. So like, whether that's making your job easier by using technology to make something simpler, whether that's reaching students in a new a new way. For the last year, and I kind of forgot about this in the general student support, is was working directly with student government because they wanted AI, and what that meant, and working with the NDAI team to see, like, was there any possibility of them accessing club data through AI in order to kind of literally make their platform, because that was their platform that they ran in for student, like the student body president ran in. It's just, that is, how do we make technology work for you? And then it's a lot of, we do a lot of project implementations. We've done large scale software implementations, like our housing management system that, touches, multiple areas of the university, and the university depends on for running, where our students actually live on campus, to, student clubs want, a camera, a portable camera to, record and live stream their, I think it was lacrosse matches. It was one of the sports teams or club sports teams. It's everything from that. So it's, just managing that type of IT and technology for student affairs.
Yeah. So do you guys get to go into dorms frequently, like in terms of helping rectors or, I don't know, that kind of personnel?
Yeah. So, especially for CWPs, we support all the rectors' computers. They all got swapped out this year, so been in a lot of dorms this year. And then we'll also support printers in rectors' offices, and any technology that they may need.
Neil, what's your impression of the dorms at Notre Dame?
They're fine, I suppose. I wouldn't want to live in one, but to each their own.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating. So one of the groups I worked like a lot with is Residential Life, because of Star Res in our housing management system, and they're actually who I started with when I came into student affairs. And it's always fascinating to me because they'll each year the alumni association has dorms that they, like, the alumni can come back and stay in for the reunion weekend, and I'm just like, I appreciate that people love it. I don't know that I want to come back into, communal shower situation as an adult, but it is definitely core to, like, the student identity is what hall you live in. And so I know, and one of the projects over this last summer was actually, and still ongoing, is replacing laundry in all of the residence halls and kind of supporting Residential Life through that, because we found out the hard way that the washers and dryers want to connect to the network in ways, and so, like, that networking doesn't really love. And so just supporting them, working with a vendor and making that happen. And it's just a weird thing that you're like, well, I never thought I would have to be supporting washers and dryers in my in my role, or that it would take so much of my time to support washers and dryers. So, like, I'll have to check them out at some point this fall, because they got all replaced this summer.
Laundry is not high on my list when I think about the Internet of Things, but apparently it's a big part of your life right now.
It's a very big part. It'll be a big part of my fall break coming up, because we have to get it working. It was a lot of, it was a surprising amount. They're functioning. We're just trying to get monitoring working so that students, can see what washers and dryers are available.
Excellent.
Yeah. Is there any other example like that aside from washers?
I had to get Peloton approved. Again, not a thing you think of until, it's a, that one was an interesting one. Rec Sports has a lot of equipment that connects to networks. If, and things like the spinning room has its own, like, internal network to, like, monitor, like, all the bikes talk to each other and how they're doing in the spinning. So that one was kind of fascinating. I mean, like, it's stuff like that is it always surprises me. And then we have, like, UHS has, like, x-ray machines, which are also not something I thought I'd do a lot with in student affairs IT support.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm almost afraid to ask this question, given all the different kinds of areas you support, but what's a typical day look like? Is there such a thing as a typical day?
Not really. I mean, we get all sorts of different things thrown at us. But typically, you know, I'm handling lots of incidents that come through. You know, any type of software approvals that need to be pushed through, that kind of thing, and just handling incidents.
And are you able, I mean, with, you know, up to 40 buildings that you're supporting, are you able to do much of that remotely, or are you getting your steps in every day, or how's that work out for you?
I can do a lot remote. However, I like to you know, be face to face with our users, give them you know, a helping hand and a face to know anytime that they encounter some trouble or need some help. You know, they know that they can shoot me an email or give me a call, and I can be there as soon as I could.
So, Beth, you mentioned a few of your key tools, like, is it StarRes?
Yeah, so STARS is our housing management system on campus. And, you know, the student side of it is called, you know, the student portal is called Home Under the Dome. We have Handshake, which is for career development, Pyramid for UHS, Engage for student activities. Trying to think of the other, Fusion for rec sports is a big one for us. I feel like there's other, I mean, I don't know that there's one per group. Accessibility Services has Access ND, which I can't think of who that was built on, but it's called Access ND. I mean, so it's a lot of, I mean, if you kind of think of these groups, like a lot of them have some sort of student sort of management, case management, you know, type system involved with them. Titanium for UCC is also out there too.
Yeah. And with all those tickets, Neil, you mentioned ServiceNow tickets. How do you guys make use of it? And do you guys make use of the service desk much?
We do a lot with the service desk. They help us out, sort of frontline things, but amazing help with all the CWP builds. So thank you very much.
No
I know you.
problem.
I know you had to do a lot for us this summer, so that's very helpful for us. ServiceNow, you know, we track inventory within ServiceNow and use it for all its wonderful features.
So what are some particularly unique issues you guys support aside from the like IoT devices?
In the laundry?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's some of the more unique stuff comes from some of our student club requests, because one of the big things on our student activity is all of our, I mean, I think it's like 300 plus student clubs on campus.
Wow.
And so we'll get some interesting things, like I said, of like, I think some of the ones over the last year were like the live streaming video for
AI
you
camera,
know,
yeah.
AI cameras. I think one request, which I don't know if they followed up on, was like asking to get software approved to track like their bike you know, like the bike club wanted to like track their rides. And so it's always a kind of an interesting, like I said, some of the more unique ones I do say will come from like student activities or rec sports and student clubs, because, you know, students are always looking out for stuff. Student government will, you know, their whole AI thing was an interesting request last year. The laundry is definitely the more bizarre one that I've had, and more problematic one than unexpectedly problematic one. And then it's just, you know, I will say a lot of student affairs stuff is niche, right? Like, so you know, there are somebody out there that has probably created a software system for what they're doing. And so we have a lot of like niche things, like I said. So, you know, career development has its own, and, you know, housing has its own, and, you know, all of that stuff. So it's usually some of the large stuff, but it's a lot of kind of niche of like, we have one program that does, you know, hall staff applications. and some of that, and then looking to see, I think for the future, like, is there ways we can consolidate some of this stuff?
This almost sounds like an opportunity for, a banner for student affairs, or, some big enterprise system to, one ring to rule them all sort of thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But then, yeah, it will be interested. I think it's one of the things we worked on in the last year with leadership within student affairs is the roadmap for student affairs that, or the technology roadmap. And so that is kind of one of the things to look at is where we can consolidate tools where it makes sense. And then for some of the groups that are smaller, how do we get them to have some of the features of some of these tools of like tracking student involvement and things like that, that they don't necessarily need a full-fledged solution for. So that's in the future.
It sounds like you've pushed Wi-Fi to some pretty obscure places too.
Yeah. I will say I have to lean on, for those who've been around a long time, it was more Dina than it was me back before the pandemic of trying to work to get Wi-Fi at the St. Joe Beach, or at least investigate getting Wi-Fi out at the St. Joe Beach. But she also worked on getting Wi-Fi out at the practice fields over by rugby. Or like literally the actual rugby field and where the marching band practices. And there's a lot of student and intramural sports out there too. So she pushed to get Wi-Fi out there so that they could use things like Fusion. And it also, band is, I think, one of the other groups we support, the staff side of the university band. And so it kind of was a 2-for-1 on that one.
Can you give us an example, besides the laundry now, of any recent specific challenges or opportunities you've had to face?
I think it's been interesting in the last one of the things that's been interesting in like the last 6 months is working through things like StarRes, which is a vendor that we've had for a number of years, coming back and saying, yeah, we need to restructure your cost because now you've been with us. And like as budgets tighten up, it's kind of doing that as like literally having what can we consolidate? So like, hey, StarRes, and we need to keep that. Are there other systems that Residential Life is paying for that we might be able to roll into StarRes instead of paying separately for them? So that's been kind of a unique thing in the last year. Last year it was a big push to get more vendor hosting on some of things. So Fusion, we were hosting on campus and getting that into vendor hosting so that we can support it. I think I think the future is going to be what can we consolidate under support to make things a little bit less niche on where we can. And then now as there's an ongoing hiring freeze. I think the other one is how do we support our departments and who are looking for technology to maybe bridge that gap of maybe not having as many like people resources. How do we make technology kind of help?
So I'm going to ask both of you this question. So whoever answers first, the other person needs to be ready. I want to know what's your elevator pitch for IT consultancy in your area. What I mean by that mostly is, let's imagine, Beth, that Neil moves on and you need to hire a new Neil. How do you recruit somebody to take his spot? And Neil, the other way around. Beth moves on, maybe you move up. And how do you get somebody to come into your area? What's the enticement? What's your pitch? Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Let Beth go first on that one.
Recruiting Neil. I think I think my biggest pitch is, student affairs is great. It's great to be kind of at the heartbeat of the university. Student affairs prides itself essentially being, developing like the hearts, minds, and bodies of our students. It's the root of why a lot of students sometimes pick Notre Dame is, the residential experience and the living on a residential campus. And it's a unique experience within higher ed. And I think our part within student affairs support is doing what we can to support the staff to make that happen. We get kind of, a lot of the wins sometimes of being able to like see the development of our students on kind of maybe a couple steps removed. But also knowing that we're kind of key to making that happen. And that's pretty cool. So you see some of these success stories, you hear about the alumni association and the students, like the alumni 50 years later, wanting to come stay in a dorm. I mean, that's part of what makes University of Notre Dame special. And so just kind of having a part to play in that. And the staff are great. They're really dedicated to students and they're dedicated to the university. And, they want to, make student life better. And so we're here to help them do that.
Excellent. Neil, what would you add?
Yeah.
What would you...
So I think I would echo, everything that Beth said. I would like to add, relationships are big in the student affairs division. So when I say relationships, I mean, knowing the people that you can come to if you need some help. Whether that be Beth or I or anybody else in the division that can provide some help, even if we need some help, questions answered that we might not know. Everybody in the division is super helpful, and we strive to pursue good relationships with all the staff and everybody that we support. So, I think that's key to being a consultant here.
Okay, it's time for Consultant Quirks, where we ask our guests a few fun rapid-fire questions. And keeping up with late tradition, Neil selected Beth's questions and vice versa. So, Neil, what do you want to know about Beth?
Let's go with what fictional character do you identify most with?
So I actually tried to think about this one. And the only thing I could come up with was like Thelma from Scooby-Doo, because I'm old enough that was cool when I was growing up. But I really like true crime, but I would never want to be like the center of attention. But I'm also the person who also wants to figure out what happened and is part of my nature. So I would go Thelma, Scooby-Doo.
Do you lose your glasses constantly?
I do have contacts. So yes, because I never know where they're actually at. So I'm always kind of in trouble if I lose my contacts. Or I have to take them out.
What's another question you want to ask, Beth?
Neil, if you weren't in IT, what job would you have?
It's been so long to be in IT. I think if I had a different job, it would be some sort of chef. I really enjoy cooking, and I do it all the time. So, I think I'd like to be a chef.
What kind of meals do you like to cook?
All kinds, really. I love to cook Thai food. I love to make ramen. I love to make my own ramen, pork bone broth. And I don't know, just last weekend I made a bunch of wings for everybody watching the game at my place. So,
are you free tonight?
I am. You want to come over?
All right, Neil, what's another question you want to ask Beth?
Let's see. What's the last TV show that you've binge watched?
I think the most recent one is I got into watching Taskmaster, I think, which is somewhere, it's in the UK, but they have like multiple seasons on YouTube, and it's 4 or 5 comedians, not usually like the super popular comedians, but comedians who they literally just make do the most absurd tasks, and the hijinks that have come with that, because like they're supposed to be getting points from all of this stuff, but like they're also comedians, so they make it funny. The most recent one, who was it Jason Sudeikis? Who had an American actor who was just hilarious. So I will say Taskmaster was most recent. I'm in the middle of binge watching on YouTube.
Nice. Beth, your turn for Neil.
I think I had the same question. What was the last show that you binge watched?
What was the last show? I think it was Mobland on Netflix. Had Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan in it. Pretty good show. First season.
Nice.
I heard good things about that. What do you like best about it, Neil? I mean, what's the draw?
There's just a lot of action in it. I've always liked sort of crime dramas, and I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. So,
I mean, Beth is solving true crime, and you're watching
yeah,
crime over here, right? So maybe there's a match here somewhere. There's something about student affairs that points you both towards crime.
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
Okay.
Neil, back to you. I think it's the last one.
Let's see. Beth, I know your aunt, painted something very, very big for the Notre Dame family. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my Aunt Lori Winger painted the Play Like a Champion sign for the that's posted in the stadium that all of the people hit.
Wait, like the original
Yeah.
sign? The sign. Okay.
Yep. She was a sign painter for athletics for years, and was over in the, kind of pre-technology days when you could print anything. They would actually have sign painters do all of this stuff. And so she did, everything. She also painted the one that has the national championships above it, because she was the athletic sign painter. And one day, Lou Holtz? I think Lou Holtz came to her, and he had seen the quote and asked her to paint a sign that said "Play like a champion today," and so she did. And kind of after a while, she ended up marrying my uncle, who was my mom's brother. And once my dad and he heard about this, they worked with her to actually start the company and would sell Play Like a Champion and own the copyright for years.
Wow.
So,
what a fun piece of family lore.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Wow. Go Irish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then does that mean they have all the rights to all these spin-off things too, when people say march like a champion or swim like a champion? Or
they did. I mean, it was the whole thing. So they had it trademarked and all of that stuff. And they okayed certain uses of it. So there was a research like a champion today that the university, ND Research used. And so there was a while there that they were actually okaying. Obviously they went after people who used it in ways that they didn't approve of. There's actually, I think, University of Oklahoma also has a Play Like a Champion today sign. So it's kind of a mixed bag on that. And then after my dad retired and I think my aunt retired too, they've actually sold off the company to other people now because they want to do other things with their time.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was just going to say, I think the people that bought it are alumni that I think are somewhere in Kansas. But it was sold to Notre Dame alumni.
Well, that's good. It stayed in the family.
Keeping the spirit alive.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And Neil, there is something about disc golf over here. What's that?
I'm an avid disc golf player. I play every weekend. A bunch of guys and I go out, try to find a new course every weekend, and hopefully it's close to a brewery that we can hit up afterwards. So that tends to be what my Sundays are: disc golfing and beer drinking.
That sounds like a worthy pastime. I like it. I approve.
Well, thank you.
All right, y'all. Let's keep the fun going with the tech edition of the trivia challenge of Did You Know? Scooter's favorite pastime. Look how excited he's getting.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Just a quick recap on this one. This is a trivia challenge that the host or the guest don't know the question ahead of time, just me. And I will ask that question. We'll go around the room. You will state your answers, and we will find out who is tech savvy or who needs a little bit more screen time. Every correct answer is worth a point, and currently, Scooter is still in the lead with 6 points. Right behind them, however, are the guests with 5 points. So Neil and Beth, no pressure. You both get
Don't
this
blow it.
question right. Even if Scooter gets it right, guests can take a lead. Deanna's right behind that with 4 points. And I'm sitting at 2 points. The only time I get a point is if nobody answers the questions correctly. All
Which
right.
has clearly happened a couple of times.
Happened a couple times. But you guys are on a streak now of somebody getting it right going forward. So we'll see what happens here. Now, Beth, you talked a little bit about being involved in the students as far as, what was that, their planning committee, and they, brought together, I believe at one point in time, a couple of years ago, digital ID was one of their things that they wanted. How involved were you guys with that?
We were involved in the first conversations around it actually before the pandemic, and then got involved pretty quickly after that because it had a major play in residence halls. And then rec sports has a huge, was a fun implementation of it as well. So I knew when they first had the conversations about it, and then I kind of knew when they started having them again.
Gotcha. Well, this question is going to be technology related to that. So the question B is, what kind of technology allows students to use their digital IDs to pay for laundry or meals or get into their resident halls to access their rooms? Is it A, Bluetooth? Is it B, near field communication? Is it C, QR codes? Or is it D, Wi-Fi direct?
I'm going to say B.
B as in boy.
B as in boy.
So Scooter is going with
B as in
near
best
field
possible answer.
communication.
See, I want to say that, but I feel like this is a trick question.
I don't ever do trick questions, do I, Deanna?
Never.
That is a trick question. I'll do NFC.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do NFC as well.
All right. 3 NFCs. Beth?
I'm going with NFC, and I'll be sad if I'm wrong.
No, we're being set up to give Andy a point again.
I know.
All right. This is exactly how I get a point, is when everybody puts all their tokens into one answer.
Yeah.
The correct answer is B, NFC.
Oh.
You guys got that correct.
Yay!
A lot of times, initially Apple had that NFC introduced in their phones with Apple Pay, but had it locked down for a long time that only Apple was allowed to use it. They opened it up to third-party vendors, which allows that communication for lots of other things besides just the digital IDs that open it up. But I know waiting on Apple was one of the bigger things that the university was doing, and then the implementation for that was quite strenuous. But I'm thankful that we ended up getting that implemented, because it's nice not to have to worry about, those who have Apple Watches, for example, you can open the doors without having to pull out a card and access it. So if you have a bunch of stuff in your hands, it's quick and easy and relatively painless. But great job on getting that correct.
Yay. Okay, so that's the end of today's show. I want to thank you both so much, Beth and Neil. It's been a real pleasure chatting with the both of you.
Yeah,
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you for having us.
If you've got someone you'd like us to interview, just email those ideas to btspodcast@nd.edu. If there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consulting world, please share that with us too. We'd love to hear your insights and ideas.
Next time, we'll dive into the world of what it takes to support the IT needs at the School of Architecture. Until then, thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Play like a champion today, Notre Dame.